Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to the Friendoville channel. It's time for another Last Dance review with special guest here from Shoe Kicks and Larson.
Get the name right, Kick Kicks.
Thank you so much for, when are we expecting more Kick Kicks?
Never.
Never? Really?
Never going to happen again, no. It's too expensive.
Can I just send you my old Adidas Superstars and you can review those?
No.
You'd be like, these smell horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're dirty, they smell horrible.
Does Steve pee on these on the regular?
Oh, it's a given. Make sure no one else wears your shoes. You urinate all over them.
So we get to talk about the bad boys today, Larson. Episode 1 and 2 of The Last Dance. The biggest punching bag was Jerry Krause, obviously.
Yes.
They eased up a bit on him.
Instead, Isaiah Thomas was the punching bag. And man, listen, I understand Isaiah Thomas on the court, great player. He's always struck me as kind of a smug asshole.
Dude, the way he talks, and this has always been the case, the way he talks, the way he conducts himself, I don't even know exactly what it is, but you just want to punch the fucking guy. You really do. And Jordan's evisceration of him. Oh, man. It was so good. His reaction when they were trying to give him the iPad to show him Isaiah Thomas's take on not shaking hands before leaving the court.
Walking off the court at the end of Game 4 of the 91 Eastern Conference Finals.
And Jordan, he's like, there's nothing you can show me that's going to make me think he's not an asshole.
Oh, first thing he says, like, oh, this is going to be bullshit. He says
he
said he's had time to think about it, and whether it's that or it's the way the public perceives him now, he's going to have some story. There's nothing you can say to change my mind that he wasn't being an asshole. And so they have the iPad. He starts talking, and Jordan just looks at the producer and basically rolls his eyes 1,000 times.
Oh, man. It's not shocking at all, the animosity that still exists. And
you have to even go back before that, because it was the 85 All-Star game, I believe, where there was rumors going around that Isaiah froze Jordan out of the game. Jordan was in the All-Star game. They wouldn't pass him the ball. They wouldn't get him involved in the game whatsoever. And we know one thing about Michael Jordan. If he's got a chip on his shoulder, that shit lasts. That lasts.
Yeah, I wonder. They didn't. I mean, I guess it wouldn't really be the appropriate. I guess it would maybe come off as a bit too much if they address that. Maybe
there was enough there just talking about how the bad boys, and they do touch on the bad boys quite a bit in these two episodes. But if you want a fuller picture of that particular basketball team, by all means, watch the 30 for 30 on the bad boys. It's one of the best 30 for 30s I've seen. It's so good.
It is, but you know what? That also comes from a point of view, the director, whoever, because you can't. I don't know if you can direct that and not have some deep-seated reverence for the bad boys. That 30 for 30 definitely shows it from the angle of
it romanticizes.
It does.
Bad boys. It does,
and
for
this
sure.
Goes the opposite direction.
You get it's the Rashomon thing. You get two polar opposite perspectives. The truth has got to lie somewhere in the middle. I mean, growing up a Bulls fan, I remember watching those series. Oh gosh, I hated the Pistons.
Yeah, they were.
And I'm
so
still
hateable.
not a fan of Isaiah Thomas. He seems like an asshole.
I know he does. He totally does. One of the more. So now that we got that out of the way, because that was great. That was great.
Probably talk about a half hour just over that one scene. Jordan rolling his eyes, calling Isaiah Thomas an asshole. Isaiah Thomas had some BS remarks today. In reaction to that.
Oh, did he? What did he say?
He's just more garbage coming out of his mouth. He's such a turd.
Oh man.
Well, it was like something along the lines of, well, if the reason I wasn't on Dream Team was because I didn't shake his hand, I'm more upset about it now than I was 20-something years ago. I'm like, dude, get the heck out of here. Get out of here.
What was most interesting to me, we can circle back around to that because it sort of goes into this. Because I took a couple notes, just more of the interesting stuff, or some of the more interesting stuff rather. What I thought was interesting here is that episodes 1 and 2, you had sort of Jordan's bookends. You had the origin of Jordan, the Jordan origin,
and the beginning of the end,
and the end, right?
As a member of the Bulls, yeah.
The most interesting thing to me in this, besides all the little dramatic stuff like the Pistons and stuff and the Jerry Krause stuff, the most interesting stuff to me is the evolution of Michael Jordan and the growth of his confidence and his persona. At the when he first comes into the league, he comes off as the most humble person you'd know or that you'd see. He seemed, I'm not going to say necessarily shy because he didn't come off as shy, but he was soft, very soft spoken, not, the braggadocious that you see. Here you get a little bit more of the transformation you get when they're becoming a playoff team. And one of the biggest moments was when they beat the Cavs in the first round. And all the stuff about, if you're not with us, all you fuckers can go to hell. And when you see that, when Jordan hits that shot and you see his post-game interview little bits, it's such a difference. It's not quite the level of like 98 Jordan or even like, 91 Jordan when he won his first championship, but it's definitely there. And it's fascinating to see this man develop from where he came from and what he eventually became.
Yeah, to a certain extent, I feel like he was obviously very confident leaving North Carolina. Yes, he was still, in relative terms, relatively soft-spoken, still learning how to deal with the media, something that, within the matter of 2 years, he had mastered. He was always very conscientious, I think, about his perception, about his brand. I think that's plainly obvious because, growing up watching Bulls games, you knew he was very competitive. You knew, but you also, he had the charisma, the personality project out there publicly that it wasn't a turnoff.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You didn't really hear about him, at least, reading this in Sports Illustrated or whatever, about him screaming at his teammates in practice.
Yeah.
And if it was framed in a way that it didn't necessarily make him look bad.
Right.
So, I think to a degree there was a learning period where he, and I think competitively from an athletic standpoint, wins like the Cavs game, finally beating the Pistons, obviously, that built confidence within himself. But I think in terms of confidence in terms of sitting in front of microphones, talking to the media, that's something he picked up real quick.
Yeah, no, even from the beginning, he seemed confident with but he always approached the media. He approaches the media in such a distinctly different way. And that goes with the territory. It's like Rodman was saying in like episode 4, we play basketball for free. Mm-hmm. I get paid for the bullshit that goes on outside. Mm-hmm. And especially, obviously, in that last year when it was just question after question after question to show this montage of the press asking him the exact same question over and over again. What happens next year? What are you going to do after this? You're going to retire, you're going to retire, you're going to retire.
Of course, obviously, that's all set with the fact that Jerry Krause, before the season starts, is Phil Jackson's last year. And Jordan said, well, Phil. And I'm sure this was kind of a game of chicken that Jordan was playing. It was like, Phil's not back. I'm not back.
Yeah.
And then Krause, right before the All-Star break, I think in episode 4, they bring this up. Krause does an interview where he says, well, just to reiterate here, Phil's gone after this year. We'd be more than happy to have Jordan back. But if he doesn't want to come back, that's his choice.
Yeah.
So I kind of wonder. I'll just say this, and this is just speculation, and I don't know if we're going to have any archival interview bits or any newer interview bits to kind of touch on this, because I thought it was interesting. They brought up in episode 2, I believe, when Jordan was hurt, he had the broken foot, where they wanted him to sit for better draft position.
Yeah.
So the situation where, and this isn't uncommon, especially these days, where someone's star player gets hurt and the GM and ownership make a decision. All right, just sit him. We'll call this season a loss. It'll help us next year.
Mm-hmm.
This is just speculation. I don't know. I have no evidence. But the timing of Krause's statements as what they were, right as the Bulls were picking up steam, playing well, going on a pretty good run, and my camera just froze, heading into the All-Star break, if it was a situation where he saw them playing well, thought this is going to be an easier pill to swallow for the public if the Bulls don't win a title this year. So if consciously or unconsciously, he was making a decision, all right, things will be easier for me if the Bulls don't win a championship this year.
That wouldn't shock me at all. It wouldn't shock me if it was consciously. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me at all because they already had 5. And dude, if Phil and Michael win, that's complete validation of everything you're going against.
Mm-hmm.
So that wouldn't shock me in the slightest.
Yep.
In the slightest, if he was deep down actively rooting. And of course, he can't professionally, he can't like make moves to hurt them, but he can certainly say things that might hurt them.
That cause chaos, cause discord within the locker room, potentially. I mean, I guess he could have swung a deal for Scottie Pippen, because Pippen said, I don't want to play here anymore. I want to trade out.
Mm-hmm,
he could have swung a deal for Pippen that made the team actively worse.
Yeah.
Could have done that, but I mean, it seemed like his goal, and I think Krause was genuine in whether he was right or wrong. He seemed genuine with that. He made the assessment that this dynasty was in its final days, and rather wait for the whole thing to fall apart, take the assets that are of value now, swing those for future assets that'll be better in the future. With the idea, and I mentioned this in one of the episodes, that Reinsdorf was concerned with making sure after Jordan was gone, they could still fill up the United Center.
Yeah.
And I mean, I tend to think, well, you got one of the greatest teams of all time on the court there. You run that until it can't run anymore. If everybody is willing to stay on board. Now, it seemed like Pippen was kind of halfway out the door.
Yeah.
And if that were the case, so be it. If Jordan was still there and Phil was still there, and they thought they could put the pieces around them to build another contender, they both probably would have stayed.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were both inclined to stay and continue on if they were welcome. They just didn't feel welcome. Phil explicitly, he was told, "This is it. This is your last season."
Yeah, he kept on being reminded in the media.
Yeah.
I just thought that getting back to the sort of transformation of Jordan, what seemed to be interesting is just how much the strive to be in the same conversation as Magic and Larry drove him to develop as a person, as the man. And the fact that one of the most interesting things along the way was him accepting that it took the other players being better for him to enter into that conversation, which it seems like, contrapuntal to what he probably was thinking.
Oh, definitely.
Phil comes in, Tex Winter has this plan that takes the ball out of my hands.
Yeah.
And that has got to be for a person whose ego at that point, it's like, granted, I know he got beat up by the Pistons. And it was also fascinating that the second year getting beat by the Pistons and getting beat up by the Pistons, it took that to get him in the gym for strength training, adding 15 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, that's what and Isaiah Thomas in his media rounds today, that's one thing he was poking fun at the Bulls at. It's like, it took losing to us twice for you to get in the gym.
Oh my God, what a shit. What a turd.
Yeah.
But it was definitely interesting because you can track his development as that Michael Jordan persona that, became this superstar, like known, like probably the biggest global icon in sports and pop culture there for a time, man. I mean, he was everything.
In terms of the 20th century, it's him and Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, it totally is.
At least from American sports stars. That's those are the names.
Yeah. So that was interesting. I thought the first round thing when they beat the Cavs and he made that realization, at that point we became a winning franchise. And that's always been such an interesting concept to me, are teams who have the losing franchise philosophy, or the state of mind rather, that we are a losing franchise.
For a number of years we had one of those in town,
For the vast majority of time of our franchise, of the Sacramento Kings, it's been, we're a losing franchise, and guess what? We're still that.
Yeah, there was a period of time where that wasn't the case. And
I know it was amazing. It was great.
It was fantastic. But yeah, there's teams where, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, whether it's culture, ownership, whatever the case may be, where you get in the rut of losing, and it's hard to get out of that.
Yeah. They went over, of course, the Pistons developed what are famously called the Jordan Rules.
There was a book that Sam Smith wrote, I think between the two playoff series, about that.
Mm-hmm,
and it was pretty cool that in very succinct terms, it was a John Sally and a couple other Pistons broke down exactly what. The assistant coach Brendan. I forget his name. He eventually became a head coach too, I believe. Broke down what it was, where you keep them off the baseline, you force them to go left, you keep them on the ground, and you keep them from getting past, I believe, you push them towards the elbows, I think is what they said, so someone could come, step up and trap them.
And the more importantly, If he is in the paint, you beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, if he gets to the baseline or if he gets in the air, you basically punch him in the face.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course we went over towards the back end of episode 3 and then a lot of episode 4. They talked a lot about Dennis Rodman and the relationship stuff. I had never heard about. I understood that Phil Jackson was like the ultimate coach for Dennis Rodman. I didn't know the Native American history that they both found fascinating, and they bonded over basically. I thought that was really interesting stuff. How Phil called him how do you pronounce this? Ioka, which is a man that walks backwards.
Yeah,
he said everybody's tribe has one of these, an Ioka, which is somebody who marches to his own beat
of his own drum, essentially.
Yeah. I thought that was really interesting.
Episode 4 goes a little bit about Phil Jackson, his background, and Jerry Krause being the one to bring him in, somewhat ironically, bringing him into the organization, almost essentially paving the way for him to get the head coaching job. They go into the triangle offense a little bit, but that's fascinating stuff if you like the X's and O's of basketball.
The overhead shot where they show they do an overlay of every triangle created in the triangle offense is.
And the way Phil broke it down, it was like you pass the ball, you swing it, and then every player has like 33 options of what they could do.
You have 33 options of what you can do with one pass. And I loved Michael Jordan's response. He was like, yeah, that's great, but I don't want Bill Cartwright to have the ball with 5 seconds left. I want to have ball with 5 seconds left. Fun fact, my mom went to high school with Bill Cartwright.
Interesting.
Yeah, he went to high school in, I want to say Elk Grove.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
But yeah, no, that whole bit there, the Tex Winter stuff. And it's funny because like later on in 98, when they're on the bus and Jordan is just like harassing everybody in a very playful way. And like Wennington. Yeah. Has a camera and he's like, making fun of him and he shoots about Ahmad Rashad. And then Phil Jackson talks about the Super Bowl and who's sitting next to him, Tex Winter. So their relationship was pretty interesting, especially because they talk so much about how much they love Doug Collins. And Doug Collins was like, no, just get the ball to MJ. Yeah. And, Jerry Krause, again, he had it right. It's like Phil Jackson is like listening to this guy intensely and he's got the algorithm with the triangle, which alleviates Jordan because he's just going to keep on getting beat up.
Yep.
And so they got rid of Doug Collins and they brought on.
And it helped Jordan in that sense that Scottie Pippen was on his ascendancy into superstardom in his own right, because then he had someone, because the early years with the Bulls would like when Charles Oakley is your second best player on the team, you got a talent deficit. No offense to Charles Oakley, he was a good defender, really good rebounder, but as far as a scoring option, not much. So when Pippen got drafted or got traded to the Bulls from the Sonics after they drafted him, and, it took a few years for him to develop into the player he'd eventually be. But once he reached that point and once the triangle was instituted and more responsibility fell on his shoulders and Jordan realized here's a guy that could accept that responsibility. And that's when they were kind of off to the races.
Yeah. I like this phrase from, and I've heard it before, but when they're talking about the triangle, how I think Tex said, Michael, there's no I in team. And he said, well, there is in win. I love that. That's great. But yeah, the stuff with Rodman, I didn't really know that much about Rodman's pre-NBA history either. The fact that he was homeless for 2 years, staying in backyards.
That's covered in the Bad Boys documentary.
Okay. Yeah. In one ear, out the other. Because that came out a couple of years ago. Yeah. That was interesting stuff. The soundtrack again was great. I was shocked. They had Party Man from the Batman soundtrack.
Oh, great
in there. Great. That was great. Some Beastie Boys.
Whoever's doing the soundtrack for this, they need a playlist on Spotify.
They do.
It's top notch.
They definitely do.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And it was great for me to go back to that 91 season when the Bulls won the first title. Watching that Lakers series every game. I still have the videotape, I think, of the highlights from that series.
And there was such a shocking difference in the grace and respect in the loss between Magic and Isaiah Thomas.
I have never seen anybody basically so happy to lose.
Right?
Than Magic Johnson was right there.
He seemed gleeful to pass the torch. I mean, it helps that he had won how many championships?
4, I think, himself. Yeah.
Right.
He had he had rings, but he's a hyper competitive guy. Watch the Bird Magic 30 for 30.
Yeah.
Dude is competitive.
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah, it's a bummer he lost, but if I'm going to lose, I'm happy I lost to Michael.
Yeah.
And there was no other emotion than basically happiness.
I know.
There was no bitterment, no resentment. And going back to the Isaiah thing, when he's justifying what they did, saying the Celtics were doing it as if that's justification for them to do it. Yeah, the Celtics were wrong for doing that too.
Yeah.
And then Jordan says, what you do, they beat our asses twice. After every game, each game 7, I went there and shook every one of their hands because that's sportsmanship. That's respect.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lambeer is all bitter because they got blown out. They got destroyed. I remember watching those games as a kid. The Pistons got destroyed.
Yeah.
Absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
Absolutely destroyed. It was a sweep, but it was like none of the games really felt competitive.
Mm-hmm, right.
They got annihilated that series.
Yeah.
And he gets so bitter that they got humbled so badly that he's like, well, let's not shake their hands. Lame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's lame.
Yeah, super lame. Let's load up some questions here because we had a couple. I saw one on Twitter. This was good because we didn't talk about it yet. Somebody asked, let me get to it here. Oh, here we go. Generic user says, what do you guys think about the 2 stories that Phil Jackson and others mentioned of the Puerto Rican Basketball League? He said they'd kill a chicken. This guy would say, he said they'd kill a chicken in a graveyard and pour the blood on the visiting team's bench. Whether it's wrestling or basketball or whatever, Puerto Rico seems like a very interesting place to hold shows or games.
Well, then the ref got shot in the leg too.
Yeah, by the mayor. By the mayor of the town.
And his only punishment is he couldn't go to home games anymore.
Oh man, that's something else.
There's something we hadn't touched on, but this is a good question from Jimmy Thomas. Where would you have hidden from Jordan in Rodman's hotel room? So to backtrack, Rodman, after Pippen comes back, Rodman says, I need a vacation. So after a conversation, of course, Jordan at first is like, no, you got to be kidding me. We're middle of season, no vacation. Phil Jackson understands. Phil Jackson's always got the reputation as not so much an X's and O's guy, but as a player's coach, and that he's really good at managing personality.
Yes.
And so he's like, I guess, convinced Michael to let Rodman have 48 hours to do whatever he wants. So he goes to Vegas and he disappears for like 3 or 4 days. And the story is that Rodman's in his hotel room with Carmen Electra,
who, by the way, has not aged. She looks amazing. She looks the exact same.
Knock on the door. It's Michael Jordan. So she hides behind a dresser with
she's behind a couch with covers over her.
That's a couch. And so while Jordan comes in, I guess she's expecting him to read the riot act essentially to Rodman and basically pull him out of bed because he's been missing for several days.
Yeah.
So where would I'd go to the bathroom. Bathroom, lock the door.
Yeah. Unless they come in and say, I want to use the bathroom. Nobody's going to ask to use the closet. So maybe, I don't know. I'd probably I don't know. I'm so awkward. I'm more of a freeze type person. So I would just freeze and be like, all right. Or I just try to confront things head on. I'm like, oh, hey guys, come on in here. He's over there. I'm going to leave now.
You go, Dennis, my friends are here.
I'm going to go get some brunch.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to go hit the buffet.
Exactly. I mean, she's Carmen Electra. She was kind of a star too.
She was a star.
Yeah.
No kind of about it. Menini 94 thoughts on how Jordan is still bitter about Thomas decades later. He still hates him.
Understandable.
If you've seen Jordan's Hall of Fame speech, it fits in with his personality. He holds a grudge against everybody he even perceives as ever slighting.
Yeah, but here's the thing, dude. I think you're right. You're absolutely right. But I don't think you have to be that kind of personality to be so annoyed with Isaiah Thomas.
I'm annoyed by him.
That decades later you'd still hate him.
Never had to play against him. Never had to walk off the court against me, and I'm annoyed by him.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Jimmy Thomas says Steve would have shoulder leaned and asked for an autograph if they came into the room. I'm like, hey, can I get an autograph? And then Jordan's handler would come out from behind him. Don't ask for autographs.
Just shake your head no. Shake his head no. Jimmy Thomas brings up that Tracy McGrady recently mentioned that he was almost traded for Pippen during that 97 draft.
Wow.
But that was Tracy McGrady right out of high school.
Yeah.
He hadn't played a game yet.
Yeah.
And there was talks. I think there was rumors, and Pippen said he started these, be traded the Suns, the Sonics, the Raptors, and then one other team. That's passing my mind right now.
That's interesting. Anyways, That's it for the Last Dance review. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Episodes 5 and 6, I think, are going to air on Sunday. So thanks for watching. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.